Kojo was born into hardship. He never asked to struggle, but from the moment he took his first breath, life had already decided it will test him. His mother, Amma, was a roadside plantain seller. Every morning, she woke up before the sun, dragging a heavy tray of plantains to the roadside, hoping to sell enough to buy dinner for the night. His father was gone before Kojo could even say daddy. Some said he ran off to another woman. Others whispered that he died in the city, looking for a better life. Kojo never cared for the details. All he knew was that he grew up watching his mother break herself every day just to make sure he had a little gari and sugar to eat before bed. They lived in a tiny wooden shack, so small if you stretch your legs too far, you would touch the walls. When it rained, the ceiling leaked. When it stormed, they held hands and prayed the house wouldn't fall. But poverty wasn't the West End. The West End was the way people looked at them. The pity, the judgment, the naysayers. That boy will never make it. His mother is wasting her time. This life is not for people like them. Kojo had heard every word. He stored them deep in his heart, and he made a promise to himself. One day, I will be great, and when I am, I will make them eat their words. Kojo knew school was his only escape. While other boys ran around playing football, he sat in the shade, studying with borrowed books, repeating the words in his head until they stuck. But hunger was a demon. Some days, he sat in class light-headed, stomach growling and head spinning. His mother tried her best, but there were days when the best wasn't enough. One day, after school, Kojo walked past a bakery, the smell of fresh bread pulling him like a spell. He stood there for what felt like hours, watching people walk in and come out, eating, laughing, like hunger was something they never knew. Then out of nowhere, a rich man in a white suit stepped out, eating a sandwich. He took one bite, 2 bites, then looked at the sandwich disgusted and threw the rest into the trash. Kojo's body moved on its own. Before his brains could even think, his hands were already in the bin, grabbing the sandwich. But just as he was about to take a bite, a slap sent him to the ground. The man had turned back, his face twisted in anger. Filthy boy! Filthy boy! How dare you touch my food? Before Kojo could explain, a crowd had already formed. People laughed at him. Others looked disgusted. See, these poor children have no shame. His mother should teach him better. Maybe if his father was around, he wouldn't be stealing. Kojo stood up slowly. He said nothing. But that day, something inside him shifted. He learned a painful truth. The world does not care about excuses. You either win or you suffer. That was the first time he cried in silence. And that was the last time he ever begged for food. By the time Kojo was 15, he was hustling like a man with children to feed. He sold ice water on the streets, running after cars in the scorching sun. He shined shoes at the markets, sometimes working until his hands bled. He carried loads for travelers at the bus station, some so heavy he felt his bones might break. He didn't complain. He stacked every coin in a small metal box under his bed. His mother didn't understand. Kojo, why don't you spend some on yourself? But Kojo shook his head. I have a plan, ma. Just wait. She didn't argue. She saw it in his eyes. He wasn't like the other boys. There was something inside him. Something unbreakable. But life was waiting to test just how strong he really is. At 18, Kojo graduated top of his class. His dream, the university. He wanted to become an engineer, build things, solve problems, and change the world. Then the admission letter came. He got it. Hooray! But when he held the paper in his hands, his heart sank. His fees were more than his mother had made in the last 5 years combined. His mother cried that night, harder than she ever had before. I am sorry, Kojo. I wish I could do more. And just like that, his dreams started slipping away. People laughed. See, what was all that struggle for? Did he think his brain alone could save him? This world doesn't work like that. Kojo heard it all. But this time, he refused to cry. Instead, he decided to do something crazy. He put on his best clothes, walked into offices, churches, businesses, and started knocking on doors. Please, I have been accepted into university, but I can't afford it. I am hardworking. I will do anything to earn it. Just give me a chance. This was Kojo's words every time he walked into any of these buildings. Some slammed the door in his face. Others insulted him. Who are you to come here begging? But Kojo didn't stop. Door after door, office after office, church after church, business after business, rejection after rejection, until one man, an old businessman, looked at him and said, "Young man, you are different." He paid all of Kojo's fees. Kojo almost collapsed from joy, and that was all he needed. University wasn't easy. He walked miles to class because transport was a luxury. He had one pair of trousers and 2 shirts, washing them every night. He tutored students, worked nights in an office, and slept hungry more times than he could count. But he never complained. By his final year, people noticed him. Professors, business leaders, mentors, mention it. One day, after a class presentation, a professor pulled him aside. "Kojo, there's a company looking for young talents. You should apply." And Kojo did. He did apply and he got the job before he even graduated. Years later, Kojo wasn't just successful. He was a CEO. The same people who once mocked him, now they begged him for jobs. One day, he walked into a scholarship program and announced, "I was once a boy who knocked on doors. Today, I am here to pay for 100 students to never suffer like I did." And the hall erupted in applause. Dear listeners, pain is temporary, but giving up lasts forever. When the world says no, my dear listeners, prove them wrong. And finally, don't forget that your past does not define your future. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.